Hi guys, this is Diane Hogarth's Millionaire Mom here, and I've at last Paul O'Mahony in person. I I loved you so much on the stage because your sense of humour is so wicked.
Talk about setting me up to fail.
No, it's the bit about Tony Robbins, and you got the photo with Tony Robbins behind you, and then he said, "Look how his hand is."
It's ginormous.
He's my hero. I've been reading his books for years and years and years.
Oh, I thought I was your hero. Okay.
That's my mind to the fact that you can actually speak on stage with Tony Robbins. Because I didn't know you could do that. So
you get invited.
Okay,
you can get invited to a couple of events where he speaks. Yeah.
Afterwards, you can give me his email address.
Sure. Yeah. Tony@tonyrobbins.com.
Okay, right. So, Paul, you love helping people make money online. That's why I've invited you. Okay. So, can you tell us a little bit about time management? A little bit, because I know that you love helping children. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Okay. So, do you want me to give it any kind of a background on myself or any of that? Yeah. Okay. I'm assuming most people won't know who I am. So, from Ireland, live in Cyprus half the year, in Ireland the other half. I'm actually in Lanzarote today. I'm very, very fortunate to kind of live this lifestyle that I have today because it definitely didn't happen by accident. It's been designed and planned because I started working in a corporation after college for 10 years. And when I turned 30 years of age, I reached this kind of milestone. I guess a lot of people do at the end of decades. And I just decided I didn't want to keep going and pursuing that corporate ladder. My boss and my boss's boss didn't seem like they were loving what they did. In fact, they were very stressed. They didn't look healthy. They were moved out of their country and had to go somewhere else to get to that particular level in the corporation. And I just started looking around at different things and what were the options and did anything else, was there anything else that could work and actually facilitate being able to make a really, really good income, but without having to rely on a kind of a corporate environment to do that. And I ended up going to a multi-speaker event where in Dublin, actually in Ireland, 2009, February 2009, where all the speakers were American and they were talking about how they were making millions on the internet. And I'll never forget, I remember thinking, okay, well, this is clearly a scam. There's no other way that this could be real. And they lived up to my expectation. It was all whoop, whoop, let's get hyped up, let's get motivated, let's tell your friend they're awesome, and all this kind of stuff that's so anti-Irish. I mean, we are so not into that stuff. Like, we really, really were the most skeptical and cynical people out there. So needless to say, the speakers didn't go down particularly well. We were polite, but people weren't engaging. But after a while, one of the speakers really picked up on this. He picked up on the vibe that people were like, what the hell is this? We're not, why are you getting us to buy this stuff? This is like brainwashing. This is a bit of a cult. But one of the speakers picked up and he said, look, I understand why you're so cynical. He said, look, you guys have been brainwashed. And I remember thinking when he said that, oh, really? Like, as if that's not what you're here to do. And he said, you have been brainwashed. The first 20 years of your life, you have spent trying to get more letters after your name. He said, that is literally what you spent 20 years doing. I wasn't sure what he meant. And he said, getting qualifications, BA, BSc, MSc, MA, whatever it is. You spent 20 years from 0 to 2021 to get these letters after your name. And he said, I don't know about you, but I found that a better measure of wealth rather than letters after your name is numbers in your bank account. And I'll never forget when he said that because it really hit home. And I remember thinking, you know what? He's not wrong. It doesn't mean I don't like him, but it just hasn't warmed him anymore to me. I didn't like him to begin with. Now I really don't like him, but he was 100% correct. And he said, look, I'll prove it to you. Look at professors in colleges. What mode of transport are always associated with them? And of course, it's the push bicycle. He said, I've got 2 Lamborghinis. He said, it's your choice. You decide which path you think is the right one for you guys. And I remember when that happened, I was faced with this moment of decision. Who do you listen to? Your friends, your family, your parents, who've been teaching you their whole lives that the key to success in life is getting a good job, and you get that if you do well in your exams. And if you have a good job and you want to make more money, you need to go and get more qualifications and more letters after your name, which I had found weren't getting me any further in my career. Or they were getting me further in my career, but my money issues weren't going away. It was, okay, you earn a little bit more, but your cost of living goes up to fit that. So I was at this dilemma of kind of figuring out, what am I going to do next? So I ended up deciding, basically, this is my rationale. What's the worst that could happen if I learn this stuff? And my rationale was that I don't use it. Because I could see from enough of these speakers that they had the proof that this stuff worked for them. And they were dropouts from college, most of them were dropouts from high school. And so, you know what, they don't strike me as the smartest, but they definitely are making a lot more money than I am. And it was the first time I ever realized that wealth and intelligence weren't correlated. And genuinely, that was a shock for me. I always thought the smartest people made the most money. But when that guy pointed out that that's not the case, and just look around any university, it's not the smartest people that are making the most money. It's in many cases the B and C students who just have figured out that money is a completely different game than the school game or the college game, the education game. So I ended up purchasing 3 programs all about how to make money on the internet. And really, really long story short, started focusing on social media where I had no experience in history, and started selling other businesses' products, then created my own, then started doing my own coaching, then started speaking from stage. And yeah, we're 10 years on, and my brand now is called Rethink. It's about helping ordinary people to lead extraordinary lives, where I want to give people the tools to think differently so that they can, because most people, if you ask them, they're not happy where they are in life, and they get confused and they don't know why that is. But if you actually trace back the reasons, it's to do with the educational system, which is hundreds of years old, that taught you how to read and write so you could get a job in a factory during the Industrial Revolution. And that was what was needed back then to move society forward. Now we're in a situation where you can literally set up a business from your phone. You don't need to leave the bedroom. Teenagers are making millions of dollars. And all of this is happening, and most people are saying, oh, I'm not technical. I'm not into this stuff. I don't understand, and I don't like social media. So they just by default talk themselves out of the biggest opportunity of all time, which is kind of sad to see. And the other side of this is I'm not here to convince anybody of something that they don't want to be convinced of. So the rethinking is for people who know they want something different, but they're not sure how exactly to go about that. So I want people to kind of know that there are tools out there, and it's not just about creating an online business. That's so niche and so small and such a tiny fraction of the planet that are ever going to pursue that. It's about rethinking your health, about rethinking weight loss, about rethinking your time management, rethinking your life in terms of rethinking goals, rethinking spirituality, all these things that if you go back and chase the root cause of them and what we believe as adults, is generally kind of dogma that we were taught to believe since we were children, and we just didn't have time to question it. You know, things like money doesn't grow on trees. Well, where does paper grow? You know, or it's better to give than to receive. Well, says who? Obviously the people doing the receiving. You know, and just if we ask some of these basic questions that we did as children, and then when we grow up we stop asking, it's very healthy, and it makes us think, you know what, the reason why I'm not getting what I want is because the system that we're in is designed to get you deeper and deeper into debt, not to get you out of debt. You know, banks will give you money if they know that you're going to go deeper into debt and you need them, rather than the opposite. So it's just a different way of restructuring our thoughts. And I'm the product of 2 teachers. Both my parents were teachers. So I like to really simplify what can be considered complex and rolled out to people in a really simple, easy to follow way. And so just to talk about the time management thing. So what I decided I would do to help as many people as possible, and literally our goal is to get in front of 1 billion people in the next 5 years. Like we've big ambitions for this, is to create a version of the dummies guide that everybody's familiar with, except it'll be the rethink guide. So we have, for example, books on rethink social media, rethink time management, rethink money for children and teens, rethink book writing, rethink weight loss, rethink high performance. These products, we're going to release them with 80 different books in the pipeline, then that have a kind of a digital training aspect on the back of it. So it allows people, no matter where they are or where they come across us, to just make meaningful differences in their lives that will result in amazing results without having to spend thousands. Like it could be literally the cost of a book, or maybe you'll even get the book for free if you download it for free. so that you can make these small little changes that will result in massive impact on not just your life, but all the people around you when you start to live by these simple, basic steps that most people don't understand. And I guess that lends me into your question around time management and the stuff with children. So time management for me is a book that I had to write, because when I teach literally hundreds of thousands of people a year in global stages, but then smaller groups, maybe a few thousand a year in workshops. It's never really the internet or the internet business or technical challenges that people, they say that's the problem, but generally it's not. It's just they don't have enough time. They literally do not know how to manage their day from when they get up in the morning to when they go to bed at night. And why most people are stressed and running out of time, there's numerous reasons which we don't have time to get into today. They can check it out in the book, Rethink Time Management. But a couple of them are A, the smartphone. It dictates what they do from morning to night. It's always around them. It's what wakes them up in the morning. It's what they check all day long. They're waiting to respond to other people who are looking for their time, their attention, their money, their energy, and their focus. Rather than the other way around, you should have others responding to you on the phone rather than you being the target, you being the consumer. We need to switch that around completely so that your day is decided by you and not anybody else. And that comes back to setting clear goals and priorities in your life. So in the time that we have, let me just give a couple of very simple things on this. If money was taken care of in your life and you didn't need to worry about money anymore, what would your perfect day look like? And this is a really, really useful exercise. Just sit down, and most people will say, I'd be on a beach in the Bahamas, I'd be supping pina coladas. But let's assume you get bored of that after 2 to 3 weeks. What would your day look like? What time would you get up? Where would you go? Who would you hang out with? Who would you want to be around all day? What exactly does that day look like? And take money out of the picture. And you can actually probably realize you're closer than you think, or it will take a lot less money to get to where that place is. But unless you know what success looks like, it's highly unlikely you're ever going to get there. And that's quite a cryptic comment, but it's also very profound, because if you don't know what success looks like for you, how do you expect to be happy when you actually have never defined what would be the perfect day for you? So define it and start putting a simple plan in place as to how do you get there. If you don't know how, then you need help from an external party who's there already, who can show you how to get there. And this is very generic, because who knows what your day looks like? One of the things I do when I mentor people is I ask a simple question. It sounds simple. I say, tell me what you want. And you would swear you were speaking to a 5-year-old, because most people kind of curl up a little bit, not into a ball, but you can see them kind of go, oh, can you kind of tell me what I should want? Because most people really have never sat back and asked the question of themselves, what are you on this planet to do? How can you serve more people in a way that's unique to you that nobody else can do? What is it about you that makes you unique, that you are perfect in every way when it comes to that specific area? What are the things you don't need to be motivated to do? Motivation is when you require an external force to get you to do something that's naturally low on your values. That's why motivation is short term, it's short lived, and it never works in the long term. But inspiration is what comes from within. To inspire is to breathe in. What comes from within? What do you never need to be reminded of? What do you jump out of bed in the morning to do? What would you sacrifice all of your sleep to stay up and focus on because you're in flow? You know that you're on the planet to do this. And when you start to focus on the key things that you want in life, that allows you to set priorities and tasks. And let me just give you something to help you with that. I would break it into 8 separate areas: physical health, financial, spiritual, social, mental, vocational, family, and fun. Those 8 areas, set goals in each of them as we go into 2020 here for the end of next year. Some of them are high priority to you, some of them are low priority to you, and that's fine, but don't neglect any of them, otherwise you'll feel half-filled instead of fulfilled. You do need to keep focused on you as a holistic individual rather than just chasing the money or chasing the business, etc., because you'll get there and then you'll feel like, well, I'm still not happy because you've neglected other parts. So you don't have to prioritize them equally, but at the same time, you don't want to neglect any one of those physical areas. I'll repeat them again: physical, financial, spiritual, social, mental, vocational, family, and fun. And set a clear goal in each of those areas. Now, once you know what your focus are and what the goals are that you want to go and achieve, That's what will allow you to decide how your day should be prioritized and how you should assign the hours of the day to go achieve those goals. The reason why most people are getting busier and feel like they're a failure around managing time is because they literally do not know what they want to achieve. So if you don't know what you want to achieve, your time is now being bartered for by your friends and family and businesses who are all trying to use your time to help them achieve their goals faster. So you're actually a slave to their goals rather than them being a helper to your goals. That's what makes a leader stand out, is they are very clear with their vision and their mission and the goals they want to achieve. And when people don't have their own personal goals, what they tend to do is to inherit a leader's goals or start to feel guilty if they don't have a vision or purpose themselves. So they start to focus on that person's purpose and end up supporting. So it's an easy one for a parent to say, oh, I'm all about the kids. That's a very lazy approach to just thinking, well, I've no time because I'm putting all my time into them. Your kids need you, are teaching you a lesson as much as you are teaching them, right? It doesn't mean you give up your hopes, your dreams, your goals. What kind of lesson does that teach them around independence? Because that was fine 30 years ago. And you say that was the job of a parent. Not anymore, because if you sit at home and you cannot fulfill on your own genius and turn that into an income and a revenue, your children will not have an example of how to actually go out and still have a family and actually create a revenue and income, because it's the first ever generation that if you do what your parents did, you're going to end up broke. And that's never been the situation before. So I know we're going through a lot of things very quickly here, but to summarize just on these areas, everybody is struggling around time because of the smartphone, because they're responding to everybody else. Turn it off or keep it on silent. I never ever have it on ring, buzz, any of those things. I just check it on a few times per day and I respond then, because I know that I'm living my life and my goals, and if I don't do them, I'm going to let down hundreds of thousands of people worldwide if I'm responding constantly on WhatsApp, etc. So you need to get clear on your goals. What's your perfect day look like? Work your way back from that. Because people say, oh, I'd love to spend all my time with my family. No, you wouldn't. That will drive you insane. You'll fall out with them within the first 2 days. That's a complete lie. You are lying to yourself. Nobody wants to be around their family all the time. Look what happens at Christmas. Big massive fights. You don't want to be around them. You want to spend some time around them. But it's not everything, right? So what you need to do is plan in those 8 areas. What are your goals? Where do you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Work backwards into today. What do you need to do every single day to move yourself closer in line with those goals? That's just a quick synopsis of what you said around time management. The other thing you asked me about was with children. And it leads into this, because parents are children that have grown up externally and many times haven't internally. We're all kids, right? Every single person I've ever met is a child, but they're in adults' bodies, most of them. So depending on the situation that we're in, we revert to being a child, or we're very confident and we act like an adult. So sometimes when I ask people, like I said earlier, what do you want to do? When I said when you're mentoring them, if they're the first child, everything has been figured out for them by their parents their entire lives. So they've never had to think for themselves. So the common response of the eldest child or an only child when in that situation is, I don't know, can you tell me what to do? Because they're over-reliant and always have been over-dependent on decisions being made for them by somebody else. They end up in jobs, they end up doing very well in school and in college and with teachers that are always trying to impress, because that's how they survived in real life. That's how they got rewarded. Second children, third children, fourth children, fifth children, they're the entrepreneurs. They're the ones that always had to fight. The younger you were, the more that were above you, the more you had to scrap and fight for everything, the more likely you are to become an entrepreneur, independent, make decisions for yourself. And this works its way all the way through your life. So what I found with teaching grown-ups these skills around the internet, generally the issues are never technical as they seem to think. It's actually much more around mindset issues and inherent BS. When I ask people what does BS stand for, they always use the naughty version. I mean belief systems. The belief systems that you've inherited from your parents, your friends, your group of peers that you hang around day to day, they are everything. And most people say, I know that, I've heard that before. You are the average of the 5 people you hang around the most with. Yeah, well, then you better change that. If you either stop complaining or you do something about it. And so what I found is when parents started bringing children to my workshop, they started to get results immediately. They were starting to make, in some cases, thousands of dollars in just a few days, because they didn't start every conversation with, oh, it won't work for me. Paul, you don't understand. I've come from blah, 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 followed by enter any excuse you want here in brackets, because that's what people do. They immediately talk about all the misery and the story, and none of it was their fault, of course, and on and on and on it goes. And everybody watching is probably laughing, going, oh, I know somebody just like that. So I decided, you know what, let's just cut that out, and let's start focusing on children before they develop those behaviors and imitate their parents, and start every conversation with, poor me, and just get them focused on the things they love now: computer games, the internet, social media, the enemy that everybody, the media, seems to think, and actually realize that this is the biggest opportunity of all time that we've ever had on the planet, where there's more phones on the planet than people. It's the first time and the only time that we can ever connect the entire planet through one communication mechanism. That has just happened. So when people say once in a lifetime opportunity, which you hear every week, it's not usually the case, but this is literally a once in a lifetime opportunity. People 30 years from now will be looking back going, how was everybody not millionaires back in 2020? Like, you could just decide you were setting up a business. You didn't need a license. There wasn't tax on the phone. There was no such thing as a phone tax. You could just do whatever you wanted, and people will look back then thinking, how did everybody not see this? And this is the time we're in now. So kids don't, because this is all they're aware of, they stop talking about, don't focus on the good old days and all this kind of distorted, delusional view we have of the past, when we were still miserable then too, which nobody says anymore, but you're even more miserable possibly. So I've created this company and foundation called Financial Freedom. So putting the fun in finance, which teaches children and teens how to become financially smart, financially savvy, how to set up online and offline businesses, how to show them where a job fits in becoming an employer, how to become a director, an investor, moving them through that process, how to learn all about it, how to earn, how to accelerate and learn how to invest your money, and most important, how to impact others and help children less well off in the world to use the same skills that they'll be able to learn, and really, really make an impact and have a positive impact, and turn this negativity that sometimes we have around money into something that's hugely positive, and a movement where you literally can just be in charge of your own destiny from a financial perspective, and having fun while doing it at the same time. And our plan is to have 5 million children through this in the next 5 years. We ran our first event in June in South Africa with 55,000 teenagers at it over 4 days. So it was a good start. And we really, really are. This is, I feel like, why I'm on the planet at the moment is to get this out there and to really empower and the next generation who don't have these negative thought processes yet, before they become adults, and actually teach them all of these skills. And it's amazing, because the tickets we're getting in the help center now are from parents saying, how do I handle my child? They're making thousands of pounds. They're making more than me. How am I meant to take care of this? And I love those kind of problems, because very few children or parents expected to have those. So it's called financialfreedom.com. And I know, Diane, your listeners are into promoting other people's products. And maybe I can just spend 1 minute on this. Starts with a book called Rethink Money for Children and Teens. And then we have an entire animated training and membership site, all cartoons. I've put over $500,000 into this already, getting the cartoons created. I had to go off and get certified as a qualified financial advisor. I wanted to make sure I had the credentials that the mass media and the mainstream would want to see before they learn about money from someone who in that topic. And it's a unique program in that it's very, very cheap for what it's doing. There's a $150 or a $250 option, but it's unique in that the only people who have purchased the program can become ambassadors for it. Because at the end of the day, even though you're selling to parents, it's children that are going to be using it. So the questions that you get are unique in that parents ask specifically, what's it about? Have you done it? Are your children doing it? And they'll find it extremely strange if you're promoting a product for children around money that your kids aren't using yourself. Why would you do that? It doesn't make sense to people. So when you go to Financial Freedom, FUNANCIAL freedom.com, you can sign up completely for free for the learn level. It's a 4-step process, the LEAP process. Learn, earn, accelerate, play. Learn, earn, accelerate, play. We even we've this dance with teenagers that learn, earn, accelerate, and play, and they go mental. So the learn is so that everybody worldwide can access all about money, become smart. What are credit cards, debit cards, debt, APR, all the basics, how to save. Then what you need to pay for, if you do wish to pay, is for earning. How do you grow a business? How do you find what a job that it is you'd love to do? How do you grow it? How do you compound it? How do you accelerate it? And then how do you impact on others? How do you help others? How do you set your own goals? How do you, and we've got characters like Branson in there and Warren Buffett and The Rock, and they come in and kind of chat to the kids and teens in the cartoons to really kind of make this feel like a non-school, non-teaching environment and something that they can really engage in. And as I said, the results are just phenomenal already, and I'm just very excited about getting it out there. And I think sometimes the reason why some people struggle with affiliate marketing and the online world is because their obsession is around the products, and sometimes they don't fully believe in what they're promoting. This is sort of a unique opportunity where we're breaking into new ground. There is no competition or none much to speak of, and the product is just second to none, because it is exactly what is needed and what every single parent wants who has an interest in giving their children or a teenager more of an opportunity than we did, when they have much more opportunities than we ever could possibly tap into, but it could just pass them by if we don't use this opportunity to teach them skills around money, that this isn't a mystery. It doesn't have to be scarce. Time isn't abundant. Money isn't scarce. It's the opposite. Money is unbelievably abundant. Time is scarce. We got to switch it all around and teach them these belief systems from a young age so that they're empowered to just go out there and be amazing change makers on this planet, and teach them the very best of what you can do with money rather than the opposite. I don't think I've taken a breath in the last 20 minutes. So sorry about that.
How long? And Kenny, honestly, he's the one. He said he's already doing one of your courses. Can you actually see the questions?
No, I can't. So.
Okay. He says, "Hi, Dan and Paul. I'm following your course up and part way through the module. See you in January for the training."
Yeah.
On Twitter. "You were awesome at Profit Maker Live with Nick and Kate. The mindset and goal setting has changed my life."
Yeah, they're in Tanzania, Nick and Kate, at the moment. So any questions, anything I can help with there for anybody? Yeah, happy to address them.
So what's if somebody wants to be a coach and speak on stages, how do they do that? With Tony Robbins, because you did mention you can with
Tony. Okay, well, so what you need to begin with is figure out what is your expertise. When you decide, I'd love to be a coach or a speaker, whatever that is. First of all, then you need to think, okay, this is sort of a selfish enough pursuit. If I don't start to think, well, what do the audience want, right? They couldn't care less if you're speaking on stage unless you've got some value to add to them. So the first question I would ask is, what are people lacking in? What would they love to listen to? What would they love to know about? And within my skill set that I have right now, which is the highest return on investment for me, what's the highest leverage that I could possibly use? What skill set is not common knowledge that I have and that I could package up and talk to people about comfortably and confidently, and let people do all the research they want on me, and they'll still at the end of it all think, yeah, fair enough, this person knows what they're talking about. So that's the first thing, is what is that going to be for that each individual? Then I do advise, I didn't get it myself, but I advise it for most people, is get some speaker training, go through that process. I mean, there's lots of people, well, not lots, there's a few in it. There's Success Resources have their Train the Trainer program. Andy Harrington has his. There's plenty more people you can what's her name? Her name escapes me. There's Sasovich, and there's a few different people you can go out there and just Google it and get that training in how to package up and deliver your message in a way that makes it easy to digest from others. Because there's a very different skill set between, so step one is knowing what it is that you're going to do. Then the next thing is, how do you crystallize, synthesize, clarify in an easy to digest way for an audience who don't know anything about the topic, so that they feel at the end of your talk, no matter how long it is, that they've taken it in, they understand it, and they can follow up some simple actions afterwards. It's not about bamboozling them with lots of content. It's about actually the opposite. How do you simplify what could be considered a complex topic into 2 to 3 or 4 simple steps that anybody can follow? And if they're interested, obviously learn more from you at a later date. When you get good at that, when you get really good feedback from the audience, you tend to get invited back more and more, and it doesn't take long before your name gets bandied about among different promoters, and promoters of events speak to each other constantly, and they check. So if you're speaking, I'm kind of in a unique situation in that I get paid as a keynote speaker, but I also prefer to speak on stages to sell. So if you can't sell, you don't get invited to the ones where you have to sell from stage. That's very simple. So it's if you're useless at selling from stage, you just will not get invited. How do you get invited? You got to run some events, small events by yourself to begin with. Run some webinars, test your sales pitch, make sure that your product that you deliver, more importantly, doesn't create refunds, that you've got a really good success stories, really good testimonials. So there's a bit of a journey involved. And I think if you start off with, what is it I'm about? What do I want to teach about? What proof do I have? And if I am going to promote a product or service, where have I proven with others that they can do this too? Then you really are onto a winner. So when I was getting mentored on this, I first of all was making money from Twitter, and I was created a digital course showing other people how to do the same. Then I was asked by a promoter, would you like to speak about what you do to my list on a webinar? So then I did a webinar. And then when you can sell on a webinar, they have a lot more confidence in bringing you into a stage environment once you've gone through that process a few times. So what is it you're about? What is my product or service that I can provide? Let me get some success stories and testimonials to begin with. Run a webinar a few times to test your sales process, and then invite others, those people you want to get known by, onto your webinars so that you come into their awareness and they're likely to invite you back as a thank you.
Cool.
There's about 5 weeks of learning in this. I'm just trying to digest it down to a couple of minutes.
And Kenny says, Robert Atkinson says, hi, you came over to us prior to speaking at Profit Maker Live. I believe you and him go way back.
We do. Robert was at the very first event I was at when I made my first sales online on Twitter. Robert was on the front row.
Cool.
I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Amazing. See, you've got some fans, and everybody's going to flock to my channel now, aren't they? Because you're here.
Well, you look, like anything in life, there's always people that will like you and dislike you, and the bigger you get, the more of them that come to the forefront. Thankfully, I'm lucky in that more people tend to like than dislike me, but you got that only comes through being authentic, and just you got to be aware of both sides, and that often frightens people about getting big in business. They're often very worried about what other people will think. I can give you the shortcut. Some will love you, some will hate you. That's what they're going to think. You just got to be able to deal with that from the outset and not make your life or your purpose about making other people happy. Right? It's about you being authentic to who you are, and what your product and service isn't for everybody. It's going to be for a specific group of people. And once you do your very best to do by them and focus on how would I put it? Focus on the people rather than the money. The money is only an outcome. So many businesses, especially people in affiliates, their core purpose is, how do I make money? And that is not a good way to get into this. And I know this because, believe me, I started from there. Because if money is your core objective, people pick up on that straight away. They're not stupid. But if you change your focus to how can I help more people? How can I build a database of people that I can help? And have that truly, and I don't mean that in a facetious way or in a kind of a woo-woo way, I mean in a real way, that your core objective is to help them out. You will make money as a byproduct, because they will buy products that you recommend them, because you're literally just recommending them because you know that's the best out there, as opposed to your outcome was, how do I make money from these people? It's a minor tweak, but it will make a major difference to how long you last in the industry and also what people will think of you in the long term. Put them first, help them as much as you can for free, and offer them shortcuts. That's what business is about.
If you've got a product, give them the benefits of the product and how it's going to help them. Don't go, this is the best thing since sliced bread. You've got to say, well, find out what they want, and then you can, if you know of a couple, then you can say, well, this one's better for you, can't you? Once you know what they need.
Yeah, so it depends on that. In that situation, depends. Are you dealing one-to-one with them, or are you dealing with one-to-many? Because if you're speaking to someone one-to-one, it's a lot easier to figure out a solution for them. But if you're dealing to an entire database, you probably would need to give them a choice as to various solutions and why you're choosing this one.
And Kenny has got another question. I'm still a bit wary about using Aweber because he's a get response person and he's followed your trainings. And
that's fine. Use get response if you want get response. They're very similar. If you're familiar with get response, work away with it. No problem. We have get response accounts as well. They go through phases of which one is best. So if you're with get response, keep using get response. If you're using MailChimp, stick with that. You don't have to move. I'm a big fan of I was a big fan of ConvertKit up until recently. Now that one's getting the deliverability is dropping a bit. It's just a constant testing and adjusting rather than thinking there's one solid answer. Because if anybody ever tells you, yeah, this is the only answer, that's usually not the case. Just like what social network is the hottest right now, that's always going to change. So you have to be agile, you have to be willing to move. And then sometimes people say, oh, that's why I don't like the internet, because it keeps changing. And I'm like, wow, welcome to the planet. It's the people that adapt, the people that evolve are the people that survive.
Oh, hang on. It's
the same in business.
It's more about deliverability with sales links or something.
Yep.
But with emails, isn't it like, maybe, because I've got a question actually. Spam score. Do you always have to check the spam score? Has it got to be 0 or can it be 1.2 or 2.2?
Yeah, usually go with 0. There's no need not to, like if you have an attachment, you don't just put any attachments in there. No attachments. Don't use the words like free and caps lock. The basic stuff that you see on emails that you dislike. You just don't need to write any of that stuff. Anything that makes it sound. Just go into. Do you know what a really good way of doing this is? Go into your spam and trash regularly and just look at the emails in there and look at the subject lines and look at the commentary and the email, and you'll see these have gone into your trash. Right? So sometimes people overcomplicate this stuff. They forget that they have this learning vehicle, their own inbox, to see what emails are coming into you, what emails are going to trash, what do they have in common, store them, so that then they say, right, okay, well, that's interesting because this person isn't spam, but why did it go into my spam filter? Because of the way they worded their headline or their subject line or the email itself. That's what led it to go in there. So you can learn an awful lot by just looking in your own inbox about what are the common themes that are sending emails into the inbox or into the trash.
So how would you advise people to do the hooks then?
Join the lists of all of the top people in your niche and store all of their emails and look at what they have in common, borrow those. And it's not rocket science. Stop being a victim of, sometimes people, I'm unsubscribing from everything because they keep making me buy stuff. Nobody's making you buy stuff. It's your decision to purchase. If it bought, you need to store that email because that email freaking worked. You need to move sides from being a consumer to being the marketer and use your inbox as a learning vehicle and look at the subject line. Yeah, but look at what you're getting from those people. When you sign up to ClickFunnels, for example, look at their welcome sequence rather than thinking, I hate them because they keep trying to upgrade. You're thinking as a consumer rather than as a marketer, I'm going to store this because now I have their exact warm-up sequence. They've clearly tested this with hundreds of thousands of people. I'm getting it for free. If I went to an event and it was packaged up the right way, I probably would have bought this. So it's just changing your mindset to rethink your email marketing, that when you're in there, it's a learning experience rather than somebody that's thinking of it as a student or as a consumer. Think about it as a marketer and learn from those.
That's brilliant, because I'm going to go to my email, because that's what I really want to learn next. Because I can do this out the capture pages in the websites. I've just got to tweak the emails so that, like with ClickFunnels, they do the soap opera sequence, don't they? 4 or 5 emails with your story with the results at the end. Then you do the Seinfeld sequence, which is one-offs, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, you don't need to copy that verbatim, because people go, "Oh, we've seen this before." Make it your own. None of those are, like let's say an SOP that you need to follow. It's guidelines that you work within. No one's going to die, like an SOP if you don't do this. But it's to give you guidance as to, if you understand the thought process behind it, that's more important. So that you go, interesting. Now, let me put my own angle on this to make it unique to me. Does that make sense?
So you can just put value. So within a week, would you put, say, 4 value and then 1 sales one, and then have a break? How would you do?
I've changed my opinion on this completely. I think every email that you send should contain both. You should have your value should be contained in the email, and the whatever you're selling should be the natural next step in terms of that value. So if they're finding that value, let's say I'm talking about 3 steps in time management that everybody needs to do today: step 1, step 2, step 3, and then I'll say, by the way, if you're interested in purchasing a book around time management, I recommend this. So it makes total sense. They've got the value in the email. They don't need to go anywhere else. It gets them into the habit of opening the emails because the content is in there. And then here's 3 steps to lose weight. Here's your discount to liposuction. That's how I would describe it. Right? How urgent do you need this problem solved? Do you want to eat less and move more and drink water? Okay, great. It's going to take you 2 years to lose weight, or you just get this code and you could lose weight within a week. So your choice, but I'm going to help everybody get to where they want to go at the pace that they want to go at.
That's cool. I really love this. Well, thank you so much for your time, Paul O'Mahony. It's been brilliant to meet you. I'll click off the live bit, stay on the phone, yeah? Okay. Thank you guys for Paul, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for coming,
Take care,
Paul.
everybody. Bye.